I think we're going to get started now. We're running a little bit late, but I think that's good because folks are still enjoying some coffee. But so you, in case you don't know what home you're in, it's Electric Wiki. And we have three really great presentations to get through today, and I'm really excited about it. I'm a big fan of Wiki and Wikipedia, and so I'm really pleased to chair this session and to be involved in this session, and I'm most interested to hear the talks and to hear what comes out of them. And of course, we're going to save some time at the end for questions. Just a little bit of housekeeping. One is to say there are some brochures on that table in the back that talk about Glam Wiki, which you'll hear about in just a few minutes. And then please feel free to send tweets about the talk. I know it's always good to have feedback from folks in the audience. Even if you don't have a question, it's good to have that feedback. So Glam Wiki is the hashtag. So please send those. And I'm just going to go ahead and let, as each presenter goes, to introduce themselves and introduce what they're talking about and sort of keep it in a way informal. And in the same way, if it's okay with the presenters, feel free to heckle whenever you want, throw things, or otherwise ask nice, informative questions.
Get rowdy.
Get rowdy.
I said last night.
Right. So anyway, so thanks very much, and we're going to start with Gaurav.
Hey, I'm Gaurav. I'm a graduate student at the University of Colorado at Boulder. I don't know if you guys want to move in front. We've got lots of empty seats in front. If you want to hang out in the back, that's fine too. I'm a little sick, so please let me know if you can't hear me clearly, if you want me to repeat something. So my talk today is going to be about extracting data from historical documents. So to start off with, the data that we were interested in specifically was biodiversity data, which is data about where species can be found and where species have been spotted. The really big repository in this field is the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, which has 300 million records that they have of where species have been spotted before. And the cool thing you can do with that kind of data is put it up on a map, and then you get a sense of where certain species are found. You can compare between different species and look at which areas might be important to protect, where rare species are found, and all kinds of cool information like that. But we have a big problem with this data, which is that if you look at this graph, since 1950 or so, we've had over 10,000 records. This isn't all of GBIF. This is just the Avian Knowledge Network. So since 1950 or so, we've had 10,000 records each year at least coming in. Before that, it's all over the place. It's patchy. People, they saw things, and we know that they saw things in certain places. We don't have that many records for that data. So we want to try and tackle this problem. So let's go back to 1904, back when everything was in black and white. And people were exploring the Rockies and the West and all these new areas which were opening up, the great outdoors. And everybody from geologists to interested to biologists to just interested amateurs would be going out into the wild, having a look around, enjoying new trails, finding new places, and they'd be making records, and they'd be collecting specimens. And the specimens and these records that they made would all come back to museums like the one that I'm associated with. Our museum was founded, the first curator of our museum was Junius Henderson, this guy here. And he, sorry.
No, it's...
And he's actually in this photograph as well. He's second from the left. And so he collected lots of specimens, and we have specimen records where for each specimen we know where they were collected. We have the specimen itself, so we can now do DNA analysis on it if we need to. But more interestingly, he also had these notebooks that he kept. And he kept these notebooks from 1905 right up to the 1930s, where he was just writing all kinds of interesting stuff. Everything from, herds pine siskin at noon near the courthouse. We haven't seen any for a week, which might be interesting in terms of when these birds arrive in this area. All this information is dated. All this information has place names associated with it as well. So we know where he was, we know when he was, and we have these fantastic occurrence records. The problem, apart from him having, I think his handwriting is kind of hard to read. I've heard other people say that it isn't that bad. The notebooks are really small, so I guess that excuses it to some extent. But one of the themes for this presentation is the idea that this entire project was one of my co-authors. This entire project only happened because lots of people were doing little things over the last 10 years. Oh, yes.
Sorry, I was just waving.
Oh, okay. So I thought you had a question, which would have been fine. Okay. So, oh, I messed up a slide. So, so here we have the first step in this process, which is the National Science, Ice and Data Center was scanning all these old photographs that Henderson had taken in the 1900s, which they were using for a completely unrelated project because they wanted to see how far the glaciers had changed in the last 100 years. So they were interested in that data. And they happened to have the notebooks with them. So they were like, and they threw the notebooks into the box. So they'd scanned all these notebooks up, and they were just kind of sitting on these PDF files, not sure what to do with them. So we got in touch with them, and we got all those documents up onto, sorry about that. We got all those documents up onto Wiki Source, which is Wikipedia's transcription platform. And, okay. Hang on. I'm sorry, I got my slides mixed up a bit. So the overall process that I'm going to be talking about is starts off with we start off with the images. Yeah. So okay. So we start off with the images. Then we move from images to images plus text. Then we move from it. Then we added annotations onto that, and from that we got data. In doing so, we used the Wikimedia Commons, Wikisource, and the Mediawiki APIs. And I'm going to sort of touch briefly on all of these in the course of this talk. But I won't be able to go into too much detail. But we've published a paper which has all the information that you could want. So if you want to look it up, please feel free. And you can obviously get the URL from me afterwards if you prefer. So the first step to getting the images into Wikisource from where they could be transcribed was to get them onto the Wikimedia Commons, which is Wikipedia's big image media, audio, all like any open content repository. Now the key word there is open content. The Commons wants to make sure that everything that comes in can be reused within Wikipedia as well as within other websites, other publications, in as many ways as possible. So we have pretty strict rules about the licensing about the copyright we have rules about how files need to be licensed in order to be uploaded onto the Commons so that they can be stored there and used by other Wikipedia projects like Wikisource. For us, this wasn't an issue because all of Henderson's notebooks were unpublished, and the author died before 1942, which means they're all in the public domain, which means we could pretty much do whatever we wanted with them. But this might not necessarily be true for all your records, for instance. So once we'd gotten the images onto the Wikimedia Commons, which is, you should totally try it out. If you haven't yet, it's a really easy upload. There's a wizard application which kind of takes you through all the steps. Once you get the images up, if you're uploading PDFs directly, it even shows you like a page-by-page view. To get them into the Commons, you then need to create an index page, which is kind of complicated, which is why I didn't want to go into it in this talk. But it's detailed in the paper if you want to look at it there. Once you create the index page, you can go through your PDF file page by page and see side-by-side renderings of the image of each page, as well as any text that was on that page. Now, to start off with, obviously there isn't any text for these images because they can't be OCR'd because handwriting. But one of the reasons why we chose Wikisource to begin with is because Wikisource uses Mediawiki, which is the same software that the rest of the Wikipedia projects use. So if you have any experience with Wikipedia, it's going to transfer over to Wikisource quite easily. Now, this should have been the hard part of the project, where somebody had to go through and transcribe, all 13 notebooks and actually type out what every one of them says. But as Andrea said, one of the big advantages we had in this project was that a lot of this work had been done for us. In this case, in the 2000s, a previous museum curator, Dr. Peter Robinson, had already gone in and transcribed all of those notebooks for us. So they were available as these big Word files, which had all the text in them. So for us, it was as easy as copying and pasting all that information into Wikisource. So once we'd done that, we had the notebook with the text on the left and the image on the right, where you could confirm what was, where you could sort of double check that the transcription had come through correctly. And we did find some cases where it hadn't, or where the Peter Robinson had missed out a line or had mistyped a word, for instance. So that was kind of interesting that this side-by-side view, it really is useful to double check what's going on here. I just really want to stress that at this point, we have added nothing new to these records. The images you see on the left came from the museum, which was scanned by NSIDC. The ones on the right were transcribed by Peter Robinson. All we've done is put them up on Wikisource, where anybody can access them in one place. This is one of the cool things you can do with Wikisource. So Wikisource has page-by-page views of each page, but you can also combine them into a single page, which contains, for instance, everything from. So for us, we created one page per notebook, which had the content from all the pages in that notebook, one after the other. So you can read it sort of like one single continuous text. But if you wanted to edit it, you'd have to go back to each individual page and then look at it side by side. So you were editing it correctly. So now we have all this data. We have all this text, which has been properly digitized. Question is, how do we get the data out of it? To do that, we decided to use something called Wikipedia templates. So templates are bits of page elements, which are commonly used across Wikipedia. So for a pretty standard Wikipedia page like this, there's some elements that you would have seen repeating over and over again in on different Wikipedia article pages, for instance. So all of these are coming from Wikipedia templates. So if we zoom in on the neutrality template, there's a page on Wikipedia which is the neutrality template, and you can pull it into any other Wikipedia article where you want to dispute neutrality, for instance, and it provides a common UI across all of Wikipedia, which is why Wikipedia looks so good. These templates don't just have to be a single page which is inserted in. They can have additional data which gets inserted in as well. So for instance, for Junius Henderson's article, we have his name, we have his birth information, and all of that is this is what this info box looks like in the Wikipedia source. And you can see that all the information is sort of typed out in there as well. And the info box uses that information to render this panel on your Wikipedia article page when you get to that. So since we have this technology, and since this had already been implemented in Mediawiki, we decided to pull it out and use it in Wikisource. And we came up with 3 simple templates, which could be used to code a taxon name, any species name or higher taxonomy. We decided to give our annotators the option of having the option of entering a scientific name if they wanted to. So for instance, Cyornis saya, which is the Latin name for the say phoebe. And at the same time, they could also provide whatever text Henderson used to refer to the bird, so that when somebody was reading the page, they would be able to see exactly what content used to be on the page before any modification. Apart from the taxon element, we also had a dated element, which could be used to tag dates, as well as a place element, which could be used to tag places that Henderson had seen, because that's 3 things we need to identify a species occurrence record. Once we'd done that, which was easier than you'd think, because there's so many templates already set up on Wikipedia that it's quite easy to copy one and adapt it to your needs. We ended up with something that looked like this, where if you once you'd gone in and annotated the content on the left, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second, you would have these little boxes that appeared on the right, which would tell you, oh, that's a place name. This is a date. This is a taxon name. It will also link you to other Wikipedia projects. So for instance, for the place name, if you click on the little upside down question mark, it takes you to the Wikimedia Commons category for that place. For species names, you can go straight to the Wiki Species page for that species and learn a bit about its taxonomy. And anytime where you see a link on the left-hand side, that's going to link you to Wikipedia. So you can read about the Wikipedia article about the Safe EB if you wanted to find out more about it. So as you can see, this happens with places, it happens with dates. We didn't link the dates up to the Wikipedia articles because we figured that wouldn't necessarily be that useful. But of course, you could do it if you wanted to. And just want to remind you that all of this is happening on the left, but if you're in the page view, this is still being tied back to the original image. So at any point, you could go back and confirm, hang on, was that really a place name? What's actually going on there? Okay, that comes later. Okay. So once we'd done this, now since we already had the transcription, this was the hardest part in terms of effort. So once we'd done that, we wrote up a blog post on the So You Think You Can Digitize blog, which has been kept by my PI and two of my co-authors for at least a year at this point. So it's an established blog with its own established readership. And we asked for volunteers there. And one thing I find really interesting about this is that we offered them a coffee mug in order to, because we felt we should incentivize them in some ways. We're like, oh yeah, we'll have these coffee mugs with photographs from the project on them, and that's how we're going to incentivize people. We haven't given a single mug out to a volunteer. Nobody's gotten back in touch with us about this, about what we thought would be an incentive. Nobody's even identified themselves to us. We've had anonymous comments on our blog saying, hey, I had some problem transcribing this. What's happening there? But apart from that, it was, the motivation was clearly just people interested in doing this out of pure interest, which I thought was interesting. But they went in, they transcribed 3 notebooks in about 3 months. And we had the transcription was already done. They annotated 3 notebooks in 3 months. And at the end of that, we had all these annotations coming out the left. And from the annotation point of view, so this is kind of what the annotation looks like. We wanted them to go in, the text on the left is what it used to look like before they made their changes. We wanted them to go in to tag everywhere where they saw a taxon name or everywhere they saw a place name, to leave in Henderson's original text, like gray-headed juncos, everywhere where they made those changes. But there isn't a date here. For dates, we wanted them to write out the full date, so we knew what the date was. But yeah, so it's a pretty simple kind of task in terms of crowdsourcing. And not sure what that page is there for. So now for the last bit, we have all this. Oh, right, that's probably what the thing was there for. So we have all this text and we have it annotated, but how do we get the data out of it? So for that, we went back to all these annotations. We came up with a very simple algorithm, which was you start off with the place name, whatever the place name is. You get the date. And then for every taxon record after that, you assume the taxon record was spotted at the last place name and at the last date. So for the first Sionis Sire record, we'd write it down as it was observed on July 28th, 1905 at Boulder, Colorado. For the next one, same date, same place. You could keep moving forward like that until you got to the next date, at which point you'd say, okay, this Sionis Sire was observed on July 29th, also in Boulder, Colorado. And then the algorithm would just keep going in this way throughout the entire notebook, tracking where species had been observed and when, and creating records as it went. So for this, I wrote a bunch of Perl scripts to make this happen, which again, they documented in the paper. Luckily, you don't have to do that because they're all open source, so you can just go steal our work. Thank you. Which is the idea. At the end of that, we have this huge CSV file of a couple of thousand records with only from the first 3 notebooks, which is the ones that we transcribed as part of this project. And with place information, and then from the place information, you can go back to what state it's in, what country it's in. We have species information, which you can go through online databases to figure out which family of species it is, or what genus, what species, and sort of other species information based off that. And as well as we also manually went through these records and checked to see if the species names were being identified correctly, if there was problems in transcription. And we found that there were surprisingly few problems. To a large degree, all this data had just gotten through perfectly intact and had been correctly annotated by our annotators, who, as I said, they didn't even create Wikisource user accounts when they came in. We know their IP addresses because Wikisource records that if you make changes without signing in. And that is literally all we know about them, apart from they annotated 3 notebooks for us. So that was our project. So looking forward, where can we go with this kind of platform and this kind of technology? It's a sheep's skull, which was photographed by Henderson while exploring the Rocky Mountains. Well, we still have more notebooks to do. We finished annotating 4 of Henderson's notebooks at this point. All the notebooks are uploaded to the Commons, so it's just a question of getting them set up through the index page system and encouraging people to come in and copy each section of text to where it is in the notebook. So that's something that still remains to be done. More broadly, there are other notebooks to be annotated. In one of those nice little historical coincidences, the next project that my museum wants to undertake, which would require both transcription and annotation this time, because in this case we have printed text, which should be easier to OCR, but we don't have anybody who sat down and annotated it. These notes were made by Junius Henderson, because he typed out the field notebooks of somebody who worked 30 years before him, who was one of the big experts in birds in the Colorado area. So these would be really interesting notebooks to transcribe as well. And sort of thinking even more broadly, the Biodiversity Heritage Library has almost 60,000 notebooks that it's made. These notebooks are made freely available in terms of so they're made freely available under the Creative Commons no copyright license, which, no commercial. No commercial, exactly. Thank you. License, which means you can't reuse them for commercial purposes, but you can reuse any of the content for scientific publications or any other needs that you have. But we can't pull these through the Wikimedia Commons, because that specifically requires the media to be usable for commercial purposes. So not all these but a good number of these notebooks are in the public domain, which means we can use them. But it is a more complicated task to sort out which ones we can use and which ones we can't. But 60,000 notebooks, there's still an awful lot of really interesting stuff available there, which can and should be made more broadly available. And something else that I found really interesting is that there was this was a slide that was presented at Wikimania earlier this year. And they were talking about the idea that since, so Mediawiki as software has worked really well for most Wikipedia projects, such as Wikipedia and the Wikimedia Commons. For Wiki Source, it might be more useful to have a more complicated system in place, which can support both, which can support keeping the original pristine which can support keeping the original images, and then the original pristine transcription of what exactly the person who created that text said, and then layer other annotations on top of that, talking about, oh, this is a species name, this is a place name, or this is a typo, or the reason why he uses this obscure word because of blah, blah, blah. So that's something which might be interesting for Wiki Source going into the future. And just to sort of re-summarize, to come back to this idea. So in order to make this project happen, we did have, we wrote some scripts and we used some, and we moved stuff around. But to a large degree, this is images and content which was created by Henderson and his friends in over 100 years ago, which was then kept by the museum, which was scanned by an SIDC, which was transcribed by Peter Robinson, which was stored on the Wikimedia Commons, which was transcribed on Wiki and annotated on Wikisource, and finally is being made available to any scientist to use going into the future by GBEF. And that's the end of my presentation. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Rob. We'll wait to have questions at the end. But will you just say a minute about your team and the group of folks that are working on the project while Sarah sets up her presentation?
Okay, so for this particular project, our team was in 3 parts. We had a everything okay?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. We had a bunch of people. So me and my PI worked on this project from the University of Colorado. We're biodiversity scientists. So we're interested in getting the data out so that we could look at these large-scale patterns of species distributions. We worked with Andrea Thoma, who's a PhD, who's just started a PhD at the University of Illinois Information School. And she's interested in goodness of use for all these images, for all this content. How well can we how well can crowdsourcing actually give us accurate answers, accurate transcriptions and annotations for all this data? We're also working with 2 people who are part of the WordNet project, because they work with GBEF to actually create those humongous data sets you saw earlier. So they were interested primarily in unlocking this information that's hidden away in hundreds and thousands of old notebooks, which are kept by museums all over the place.
Thanks very much. Kent, just a housekeeping. Do you want me to shut this window?
If that helps you, go ahead.
No, it's up to you. I mean, is it okay with the video? There's just a direct sunlight?
Let's just close that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
like, I'm staring
Sarah,
directly.
will you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Sturch. I am a... Oh, thank you, Paige. Thank you. I'm going to stand up if you don't mind. I like to always fantasize I'm doing a TED Talk, so I have to stand up. I just need one of those wireless mics, right? I have been serving for the past year as a fellow at the Wikimedia Foundation. And the Wikimedia Foundation is the nonprofit organization that supports projects like Wikipedia. I actually have a museum background. I quit my past career as a makeup artist, went back to college, and got my degree in Native American Studies, my master's in museum studies from GW, or George Washington University, 7 months ago, after a very long time and flunking out of college once. And here I am. And it's very funny because I probably wouldn't be here if these 2 people wouldn't have been in my life in the past few years in regards to my master's work and my undergraduate work, which a lot of it has been focused around working with Wikipedia and related open culture programs to help free the world's cultural knowledge to a larger group of people than what your museum or cultural institution might necessarily be engaging when people come into your museum or visit your website. But as a fellow at the Wikimedia Foundation, I've been doing outreach with women to engage more women to contribute to our website and our numerous other projects. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I know there's a few guys in the room, and I appreciate you being here, and that's good. So take some notes, because you can go back to your friends and preach to them on why they need to edit Wikipedia. But ladies, and some of you I've known for a long time, and I haven't seen in a while. Some I've only talked to on Twitter. And you all better take some notes, because I expect you all to edit some Wikipedia when we're done here, okay? So we can edit. You might recognize this, of course, right? This is a Wikipedia named Tom Morris created this for Wiki Women's History Month. It's a public domain image, so we can do what we want to it. And damn it, we're going to edit, right? There's my Twitter down there. It's Sarah_Sturch, STIERCH. You can also hash or send a tweet to @WikiWomen, which you'll learn about in a few minutes. So let's get started. Imagine a world in which every single human being can freely share in the sum of all knowledge. That is our commitment. That is the Wikimedia Foundation's vision statement. Who here has a vision statement with their organization? Oh, vision statements, not just missions. We have vision statements. Isn't it amazing what we've come to? So we've got a mission, a vision, and a few other things too. So, Lord, and I always have called it the mission statement. I recently got yelled at. They're like, that's our vision statement. I'm like, okay. This is a pretty broad concept. Does anybody actually relate to this in their own organization? The Smithsonian's a really good example. I served as Wikipedian in residence, which you're going to learn about in a minute here from Lori, which is basically an in-house Wikipedian for a selection of months. I was there for 2 months at the Archives of American Art and for 3 to 4 months at the Smithsonian Institution Archives. And it's funny because our missions are very similar. We want to share all the knowledge of the world with everybody for free. So it kind of makes sense that GLAM people, which stands for Galleries, Libraries, Archives, and Museums, and David Bowie, should be working together. Oh, and just a fun fact, real quick. So the Wikimedia Foundation runs Wikipedia, Wiki Source, which he talked about, Wiki Commons, which is our media repository. So there's a gabillion, well, like 14 million, or is it 4 million? Over 4 million free images that you can use and do whatever you want with, as long as you attribute the author. And that includes content from cultural organizations like the National Archives, the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, the Smithsonian Institution, and many other people who've partnered with us. All right, ladies, we all know we're dominating the room right now, and we also know we're dominating the conference right now. As a person who has attended tech conferences over the past year, it's usually not like that. So I get really excited when I come to museum conferences, and I'm all like, yes, there's my girls. We're all here. The ladies are here. This is great. Sorry, guys. But it's really empowering and a very exciting experience for a person who's been a little more immersed in the tech field for the past year. And 2011, we have librarians, 83%, archivists, 64% in 2004. People who are studying library sciences, 81% are women. 81%. And there's a woman, there's a woman, there's a woman, there's a woman. I'm presuming they're all women, and I'm presuming those 2 men are not. So this is the Seattle Municipal Archives. This is an image from Commons. This is their entire staff, supposedly, as of 2010. And there's 4 women and 2 guys. But museums. No one has done any research about how many women are in museum culture. We know that men are dominating as the directors of our museums, which I'd love to see evolve and change, so let's work on that, right? And, but as curators, as collection managers, as registrars, as a person who's worked everywhere from the National Museum of the American Indian to Colonial Williamsburg to partnering with the OCLC, well, okay, that's more libraries, but there's a lot of women out there. But we just don't know the exact number. And I'm sure it's out there somewhere in a document right now behind a paywall that I can't afford to visit because I'm a poor post-grad student. Working for a nonprofit, like many of you. So we don't know how many women are there, but we know they're there. This is an image from the Library of Congress on Commons. So Wikipedia, only 9% of our contributors are women. Yes, awesome. It's really awesome. It's that bad. I don't know if you can see it past that. It's really that bad. That's the asterisk. And we have 240 different language Wikipedias, from Navajo to French. We've got tons of stuff. And our approximate number is 9%. In theory, Russian has the worst gender gap ratio. They're at like 4%. And English Wikipedia is at approximately 13%. But don't get excited. 13% is still pretty pathetic in my opinion. So we need to change that, I think. Because how can you provide every human being with the sum of all the knowledge of the world when only 9% of half the population is sharing it on Wikipedia, which is the 5th, depending on the day, most popular website in the world. The English Wikipedia is. And it probably beats out your own museum when people Google it, you know, to go visit your museum's website. And I mean, who here has never used Wikipedia? Okay, good. I'm assuming you're all not lying. But really, it's that important, and if we're all not contributing to it, half the population, there's a problem here, in my opinion. So a lot of people go, well, Sarah, why don't women edit Wikipedia? And then everybody tells me why they don't edit Wikipedia. And for the past year, I've been going, I know why you don't edit Wikipedia. I've heard it 4,000 times. But keep talking about it, because I don't care anymore, because I want to flip that. I don't care why you don't edit, so let's start editing. But some of the reasons women give, because I can't not share it, are, oh wait, I've got the wrong slide. You'll learn about why women don't want to edit in a minute. Okay, it's been a long night, and a long morning. So when women don't contribute to Wikipedia, here's what happens. We lack coverage of subjects that women might have interest in. Now, we all have different interests. You can't like assume we all like to edit about makeup and fashion and you know, whatever, girly movies. I was going to use The Breakfast Club, but no, Breakfast at Tiffany's would have been The Breakfast Club's more my movie. Breakfast at Tiffany's is Laurie's movie, maybe. I don't know, or, you know, there's a lot of subjects. So, but fashion, I like fashion. History, I like women's history. Literature, you know, Jane Eyre, whatever. Women's sports, healthcare, so nursing, female-dominated thing. A lot of women are nurses. Education, things like this are lacking in terrible coverage on Wikipedia. So bad. I mean, it's really, really painful. If you look at the Wikipedia article for Rambo versus the Wikipedia article for Bridesmaids, it's like ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. And Bridesmaids was so much of a better movie. Biographical coverage about women is severely lacking. Not every woman wants to sit around and write articles about women, biographies about women, but the coverage is atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Wikipedia's policies, we've got a lot of rules, but we'll work on that, and we'll work on getting you to know them. Policies, projects, and programs are developed by a male majority, which is kind of funny because, you know, history has often been dominated also by a written masculine majority, so Wikipedia is also being dominated in the same sense. Discussions about topics like, get ready, shocker, abortion, pregnancy, and feminism are often dominated by males. So if you go visit the talk page for feminism, pregnancy, and abortion, you're going to have a really depressing experience because it's a bunch of dudes sitting there talking about what needs to be included in the abortion article when there's maybe 1 or 2 women out of 500 guys. And I'm not even exaggerating. It's 120 guys who are all arguing about what should be in the abortion article and what image should be used for pregnancy. Do we want a naked pregnant lady or a clothed pregnant lady? These are discussions that women need to be taking part in because the government's not necessarily, you know, doing it. We're not doing it in the government. That's changing after the election, of course. But it kind of reminded me of the most recent election where abortion and all those good things are being controlled by men. And I'm a bit of a feminist. What can I say? So why aren't women editing? Here's the slide I meant to show. This is one, I think, from the National Archives, I hope. It's amazing. She's wonderful, isn't she? And she looks really stoked to be at work. I'm really excited to be there. So why aren't women editing Wikipedia? Okay, I'm busy. I get it. I'm busy too. We're very busy. We're mothers, we're stepmothers, we're full-time, we're students, we're overworked and underpaid. Social media, I'd rather hang out on Facebook for 8 hours and play Farmville or write my blog for 12 hours a day and play around on Twitter than even try to edit Wikipedia. Women dominate social media. So how can we make Wikipedia kind of cool, like social media? We're working on that. Neutrality. This is one I picked up yesterday. I have a really hard time being neutral when writing Wikipedia. Wikipedia, you have to be neutral. And as a curator, I know how to write a label where it's, okay, I'm choosing what I want the person to read on the wall. And I'm going to choose what I take and I put in Wikipedia. That's how I act non-neutral. And don't tell the Wikipedians I said that. And you're recording this, so. But what we don't want you to do is go into your Wikipedia article for your museum and write, the Smithsonian is the greatest museum of all time. It's the greatest place. More people learn things about history than anywhere else in the world. Don't do that. Just say, it's a big-ass museum. And there's some citations out there that say that. So neutrality. Keep it neutral. Just choose what you want to write about. I'm overwhelmed. Wikipedia is incredibly overwhelming. There's policies, there's tons of stuff. There's how many, like 4 million articles? You know, it's not easy. Wiki markup is stupid. Really? Do I have to learn a new coding language in order to write the world's biggest free encyclopedia? Well, you kind of sort of do. I'm lucky I'm a little tech savvy. I kind of liked coding as a kid because I was weird. I still am, and I like it. But we're changing that, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. I got my edits reverted. I tried it out. I made an edit about my museum or my interest or my passion, and it got reverted, deleted by another editor. What a jerk. It's a big reason. So let's stop complaining and wondering why we don't edit, and let's start minding the gap, the Wikipedia gap, right? So there's a few things you can do. These are just calls to action, all right? First is be bold. Yeah, you recognize that image? This is the awesome Votes for Women banner, which now graces every suffragist article on Wikipedia. I added it to a lot of them. This was donated by the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, where Lori works, and this is a partnership we did with them that she might touch on in her talk. And our big motto in Wikipedia is to be bold. Be bold. Just do it. Click that edit button when you see a typo. Click that edit button even if it's about your museum and you go, that's not right. With the Natural History Museum at the Smithsonian, somebody said they had, I'm not even exaggerating, the Wikipedia article said they had 50 billion objects. And one of the women emailed me and went, we don't have 50 billion objects. Can I please change that? God, that is so not true. We have like 14 billion objects. You know, I said, yes, just go change it. You know, you can be bold. Because if all else fails, someone's going to fix your mess ups. If you do something wrong, you're not going to break Wikipedia. So be bold. A couple cool things that you can start to do in your institutions. Edit-a-thons. I call this the 21st century quilting bee. Women are known for liking to socialize. We like to get together, we like to work in our groups, and collaboratively contribute to projects and programs. The research that I have done and others have done over the past year plus have shown that we like to get together in collaborative environments and work on specific focused tasks and do them together, and we often do them better than we do them when we're with men. Sorry, guys, but it's true. We do. And when you have a really great, empowering experience with a group of women, it's really a remarkable, eye-opening experience if you've never had one. So here we are. Okay, there's a couple guys in the room, but okay. They're awesome. They're everyone's Wikipedians here. So this is an event that I did at the Smithsonian Institution Archives, where I worked with Catherine, who's back here, who's post-Smithsonian now. We did a really great series of projects when I was the resident there. And this is an edit-a-thon that we did. It looks really boring, but it's actually really fun because you get to sit around with a bunch of Wikipedians and staff members. You get to learn how to edit together. So if you have a problem, you go, hey, Sarah, I think I screwed something up. I don't know how to upload an image. And I can run over and go, well, no, here's how you do it. And we all get to do it together. And we focused on content-specific women in science. We did the first official Women in Science edit-a-thon, which spearheaded the whole Ada Lovelace Day events that you may or may not have heard of about women in science that took place at the Royal Society, for example. And when we did the edit-a-thon, we then went and did a backstage pass tour of the museum, or of the library archives. And oh man, it's awesome when you get to go behind the scenes. I mean, I'm a museum geek. I'm a museumist. I've been very lucky to handle works by great masters and, really old pots and things like Richard does as a conservator and really cool things. But yeah, the coolest people in the museum if you saw that last night. So, but a lot of people who were there had never been at the archives before. So we went around, and this is really cool. This is a woman who participated taking a picture of James Smithson's draft will, in which he ended up leaving, drafting that I'm going to leave all my monies to create some awesome educational thing in the United States, which became the Smithsonian. And I still get chills, and I cried the first time I saw it. I'm totally a museum geek, right? You would have cried too. I'm not the only one who would have got chills. But we all took pictures, and then we uploaded them to Wikipedia, and now there's a photograph of it in his article that I wrote. Yeah, I wrote it. So. But the cool thing is this brings together Wikipedians and staff, and you don't just have to do it at your workplace. You can also do what I like to call wine and wiki, where we drink a little wine and we edit a little Wikipedia at my house. And my girlfriend Heather and I get together and we watch some bad TV and we edit some Wikipedia. Yes, we have a life, but it's really fun once in a while, especially when you have some good wine. And you end up leaving it going, I feel really empowered and this was a lot of fun. And also, Wiki Women's History Month, which is coming up in March. And it's going to be a really great event. It's our second year. Last year we had about 10 events around the world, and we get together. It's for men, women, everyone's welcome, and we edit content about women around the world on Wikipedia. And I'd love to get you involved this year, so let me know if your organization would want to partner with me, because I'm the one who's volunteering to do this. So be an advocate. Train staff and interns on how to edit Wikipedia. It's really important that people start to learn how to include this in their workflows, or you discover and create new ways to include Wikipedia in your workflows. Interns should know how to edit Wikipedia. I guarantee if we all know how to do it, and we're all post-grad or grad school kids, your students are gonna have to know how to do it in a few years. And it's probably a good idea, and if you can be the one to teach them that, it's a pretty empowering experience. help us create documentation and how-tos. Lori and I, Dominic, Groff, we all desperately need better guides on how to teach people how to edit Wikipedia. And we want to make GLAM-specific guides, whether they're screencasts or they're online documents, one-pagers you can hand out to your 60-plus volunteers, because, you know, a lot of our volunteers are very mature people, and they might need a little extra guidance, or teenagers that Lori's worked with the Children's Museum. We want to do some of that, right? We're going to do some of that stuff. Develop Glam Wiki partnerships, which Lori will touch on a little bit at the beginning of her presentation. Glam Wiki partnerships, you guys work with us, we work with you, we do really cool stuff involving Wikipedia. These two women, amazing. Sarah Schneider, up here, she's the webmaster of the Archives of American Art at the Smithsonian, who's the first person to bring Wikipedian, me, into their organization. She's hosting an edit-a-thon for staff members called Wiki Loves Libraries, where about 60 people got together and learned how to edit Wikipedia. And this is Mara Lee, who's Dominic took this picture over here, and she's wearing an I Edit Wikipedia, I Heart Editing Wikipedia t-shirt. And she's from the OCLC, and they just got their first Wikipedian in residence recently, and they're both amazing advocates. People I'm happy to connect you guys with. And the Wiki Women's Collaborative. This is my big, exciting project, the last half of my fellowship. My goal was to say, okay, how can we create a social environment for women to get excited about editing Wikipedia? We already dominate social media, so let's use social media to get women to edit Wikipedia. So there are 3 ways you can get involved. This is our awesome logo. This is our Wiki Women logo, represent, our gang sign. At Wiki Women is our Twitter. Please follow it. It's usually me running it, but I'd love to get more people involved in it and who speak any language, get excited, and want to share great content. We have a Facebook page. If you search for Wiki Women's Collaborative, Lori and I are on it. We do profiles about women. We post blogs, all kinds of great stuff. You can ask questions on the Facebook page and get quick answers. We also have a blog roll on the blog, a Wikimedia blog. And if you ever want to write for it, let me know. We just showcased Mara Lee Prophet, who wrote about OCLC and why Wikipedia should love librarians. So we can work on that stuff. So come join it, and finally, talk to me. Yes, I know, I'm so obnoxious. I put a picture of myself in my own presentation, right? My name is Sarah. You can reach me at this email. You can also find my website. And I'm, looking for a job, too. And I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. My user page on Wikipedia is my name. And I'm also on Twitter. You can come, you can email me, you can Twitter me, you can whatever, and go, Sarah, I want to do an edit-a-thon. How do I do it? Sarah, I want to connect with Sarah Schneider. How do I do it? Sarah, I want to get women around the world editing. I have $1 million. Let's make it happen. So please come find me. You know, I'm going to be here all weekend. If we want to do an unconference session where we learn how to edit, let me know. If you want to take a break from sessions, we can get a little hands-on. Or if you want to have a drink, I'll happily accept one. I'm going to be posting this. Actually, it's right now. It's on SlideShare. I'm going to tweet it out. And these are some important links you can take a look at. I'm done. I'm going to pass it over to Lori, or I'll pass it over to Richard.
But I can join too, right?
Oh, yeah. You can. As long as you invite all your lady friends to join.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Turn it upside down.
So now we're going to turn it over to Lori Bird Phillips, who's going to talk about her work. Don't worry about it. It belongs to the IMA Museum. I'm sure the computer's fine. So maybe I'll just run over there and get that towel while you introduce yourself.
Sure. Already fell over here with the laptop, sorry. So, I'm Lori Phillips, and for 2012, I am serving as the U.S. Cultural Partnerships Coordinator for the Wikimedia Foundation. I'm so sorry, Richard, and the IMA.
Keep going.
And I am also the Digital Marketing Content Coordinator at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, and I've served as their Wikipedian in residence since about 2010. And today, well, I'm going to go backwards. Well, no, it's fine. We'll just leave it. The laptop's not doing too well right now. So today I'm going to be sharing about how far GLAM has really come over the past 2 years and provide some new resources for you guys of really what we've been working on over the past year of how you can better connect with Wikimedia and some of our goals for the future of Wikimedia, or for GlamWiki, I should say. And Sarah already introduced GlamWiki. GLAM stands for Galleries, Libraries, Archives, and Museums. And we are a group of volunteer Wikipedians from all around the world that help museums share their content with Wikipedia. And this, as I said, this all started about 2 years ago, when back in the day, no museum would have thought that Wikipedia would have been a core part of their mission. It wasn't really taken that seriously until the British Museum and the Smithsonian and big, museums like that started to have Wikipedians in residence. And so that was 2010. And over that year, we began to better organize on a global scale. So this picture is us in Glam Camp, New York in spring of 2011. And we use these Glam camps as a way to develop tools and just better organize ourselves internally. And this was really the start of us becoming more of this movement. So by the end of 2011, we had interest all over the world, but by the end of 2011, this was the amount of interest we had in institutions in just the US alone. This isn't really meant to be read. It's more to illustrate just the level of interest. So the big white bold ones are the organizations that had actual partnerships going, and the ones that are behind are ones that were just in the queue that were interested. So this led us to realize that we actually needed a central coordinator just for the US. And that's where my position as US Cultural Partnerships Coordinator for the Wikimedia Foundation came in. So this is what we look like today, a year later. Again, we have way too many museums in the queue, and this has been keeping us very busy. But the good part of this is that now we have all of these institutions that are able to work together and collaborate, even though there's not as many Wikipedians to be able to keep up with you all and all of your interest. So my goals as US Cultural Partnerships Coordinator are threefold. Generally speaking, it's to establish a system to allow museums to more efficiently share their resources with Wikipedia. It's always been kind of convoluted, and we're kind of shoestring volunteers doing all of this together. So I was able to really focus on pulling together these resources in a way that made sense for people. And we did this through 3 ways. To support outreach for Glam professionals by creating better documentation, which I'll be showing you in a second, and by bringing together the GlamWiki US community more efficiently to be able to connect with museums. And then finally, to be able to kind of empower GLAMs around the US to work together and self-sufficiently to be able to move forward with partnerships. All right, that's all the not as fun stuff. Here's the fun stuff. So over the past year, we've really come into our own in the GlamWiki movement, especially in the US, but abroad really as well. In March 2012, the inaugural AAM Trends Watch report included Wikipedians in residence as one of their key trends. And Sarah worked on this report, so thank you.
I'm not the reason why it showed up. It was Elizabeth Merritt's idea, and I just supported it.
Hey, it works. So we had the opportunity also to go to the American Association of Museums back this past spring, and they actually invited us. It was quite the coup. We were really excited about this, and we were on a panel of Wikipedians in residence. What? And this was really the first time that we realized that museums had broadly begun to really accept Wikipedia into their institutions. So we went to AAM expecting to have to do a lot of convincing still, but really it was no longer about the why. It was completely about the how. And that really took us by surprise. You'll see Sarah's up there.
I think I'm wearing the same outfit as I did.
So this continued at Museum Next in Barcelona about a month later. And what really struck me at Museum Next was that this was the first time museum professionals were telling each other that Wikipedia was worthwhile. Wikipedia was mentioned in 3 of the 4 keynotes, and Coven actually, because he always has profound things to say, in his talk on the Kinetic Museum, I just have to say this quote. So he said, "Wikipedia is more important as an information resource than any other single institution. We need to accept that and figure out how to work with it." It sounds a lot like what he said last night as well, but that's why we're all a fan of Coven, right? So this was all great with museums, but also libraries and archives were really coming into their own as well, and we have huge advocates, particularly in David Ferriero, the Archivist of the United States. And the National Archives, Sarah mentioned Dominic. Over here is the Wikipedian in residence at the National Archives, and they have just done amazing work. And this is mostly explicit in the Open Government Plan for 2012 and 2014. They have mentioned Wikimedia. It's like mentioned 3 or 4 times that Wikimedia is this core part of the future of open government. So where do you fit into the world of GlamWiki? So this is more getting into the hands-on. And I always like to say that one of GlamWiki's biggest strengths is its community. And in a minute, I'm going to get into specific details about how you can actually connect with that community. because it's not it's not very apparent if you just go into Wikipedia. And as I said, there have been about a dozen Wikipedians in residence, and there's more growing every day. But the Wikimedia community and the GlamWiki community is actually hundreds of volunteer Wikipedians all around the world. And they have specific skill sets ranging from copyright, outreach, making special magical bots that upload things. I don't know all the answers, but the thing is that I know the people that do. And that's what our community is really all about. We come together to connect you with the people you need to be able to make your project work in Wikipedia. I like that picture. So I like to always describe the GlamWiki community as concentric circles. Over the past year, this phenomenon has grown. I'm a US Glam coordinator, but there are national Glam coordinators all over the world now. And so many so that at Wikimania, our big conference this past year, we had a panel of us. And they're all over there: Australia, France, Germany, the UK, Sweden, Italy, Spain. It goes on and on. And Glam coordinators help connect you both to your local Wikipedia community, but also we kind of bridge that gap to the whole global GlamWiki community. So we're able to connect you with that specific person that can create the Wikipedia widget. Like my boss came to me and was like, let's make a Wikipedia widget. I won't get into the details. But I went to my friend Martin and he made it. That's kind of what we do. It just appeared. So that's the magic of GlamWiki. So another key resource is that we can then connect with translation efforts and big crowdsource efforts in a big way. So one of the big things with my position as US coordinator is that we have been building capacity specifically within the US, and we have so much interest but kind of scattered Wikipedians all over. So we decided to all come together at Glam Camp DC. Garab was there, and we actually...
My arm is in the photograph.
Oh, your arm's in good. And this was really our effort to kind of pull together this community, and we decided to create the GlamUS Portal, which is our fancy way of connecting you now with the community. Now, to preface this, we already had glamwiki.org, which is our global resource. And if you're going to remember anything from today about GlamWiki, glamwiki.org, and then us.glamwiki.org. It's pretty simple. So glamwiki.org is really useful for best practices and case studies. This is where you can access kind of the best of projects from all over the world, and where we centralize all of our documentation. So this is an example of one of our case study pages. This is my home at the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, the largest children's museum in the world, if you didn't know. And so for examples, we have case studies on our curator-vetted image donation, our project with QRpedia, a featured article collaboration that we did. And you can go in and have step-by-step of how we carried out these projects. But the GlamUS Portal is unique in that it has other step-by-step approaches to specifically connecting with Wikipedians in the US. So I'm going to run through this really fast because it's all there. Just go to us.glamwiki.org and look around and you'll figure it out. But the Connect page is probably the most useful, and it's where there are lists of both online volunteer Wikipedians and outreach volunteer Wikipedians. So there are some that, you know, they might not be able to come to your institution and run a workshop, but they'll be happy to do things online for you. And there are others who are, you know, exceptionally skilled in these training sessions that might be local and might be able to come to you. And along those lines as well, we have a few, I'm not going to say we have all, because we don't, state pages where we started to pull together any Wikipedians that are in that region, any campus ambassadors that are nearby. So campus ambassadors are a really important resource. They are undergrad students that have been trained to train people in Wikipedia. So if you have them near you, use them. They're good. We mooch off them all the time in GlamWiki. So another important thing, especially if you're looking just to get started in GlamWiki, is our Glam Contribute page. And these are all little hidden drop-down menus. And it literally takes you step by step of thinking through what resources does your institution have that will apply to different projects that you can do. And it even gets to the nitty-gritty of how you connect to a Wikipedian, how you create a user page, how you get rid of the red link of your user page. So this is a good resource. When you go there, it won't look like much, but unhide the little things, and all the pretty check marks will appear, and I promise it'll be useful. Another important resource is the Glam Bookshelf. And this is where we've been compiling all of our fancy presentations like we do. Rob, are you going to add yours to our Glam Bookshelf? Okay, good. And handouts and anything that we have that can be a resource for you and for us as well. We already mentioned the one-pager that is sitting in the back, or Dominic might have handed it to you. This was developed at Glam Camp DC, and it is just a one-stop shop, just a why Wikipedia. So we understand that you guys get it, but you need to go back to your museum and pitch this idea to them. So this is a really good resource for, you know, getting that buy-in in your institution. And that is often half the battle, and we understand that. So that is the Glam Portal, and you can go there and dig around. But another one of our big resources that we have, which the US is really unique in, is that we now have this group of cultural professionals that have really come into their own as experts. And Sarah already mentioned Sarah Schneider and Marilee Prophet, who are both just exceptional. So these people, and there are quite a few of them now, they're going around and they're presenting on their own, they're getting grants, they're creating pan-institutional collaborations around GlamWiki. And this is Pamela Wright, who I'm going to get her thing, her Chief Digital Access Strategist at the National Archives. And she has presented in the US and abroad about GlamWiki and the archives. So this led me to realize that GLAMs can be helping GLAMs now. We don't need to depend on our kind of sometimes small group of US Wikipedians. And for the past couple of years, that's been half the battle is, you know, there's so much interest, but there's not enough Wikipedians to handle it. And it's actually kind of the opposite problem in other countries. In Europe, there are Wikipedians knocking on museums' doors. But in the US, the museums are knocking on our doors, and we're saying, okay, get in line, please, and we're really sorry that you have to wait. That's the truth of the matter. So the GlamWiki US Consortium is kind of my baby. It's part of my, my Glam Coordinator position. And this is my vision of GLAMs helping GLAMs. And we launched this summer. And it's just an informal group of individuals, of institutions, of Wikimedia chapters, of Wikipedians that are all working together to support one another. So it doesn't have to be Wikipedians helping you. It can be other institutions, other people helping you as well. We do have an informal advisory panel that has 6 cultural professionals and 6 Wikipedians that are kind of helping move this forward. We have a kind of revamped listserv, which I'll give you the information on. And we also, is that the next slide? Yes. We also have a new-fangled fancy blog that we will be adding FAQs and case studies and the like to as well. So, I have 1 more month as US Glam Coordinator, and I have to solve all the problems with GlamWiki in the US.
Welcome to my life.
Yes, and Sarah is going to be helping me. So, what's next is that we're considering making the GlamWiki US Consortium more of a formal entity, but we don't think that's going to happen in another month. We don't expect it to. But what we're considering is having this broader open culture group. We've started to see that, where's my little thing? You know, there's been a lot of interest in open culture in cultural institutions and in getting open content out there. It doesn't have to be Wikipedia, it can be anything. So over in Europe, there's an organization called Open Culture Data. We, of course, have our connections with Creative Commons, the Open Knowledge Foundation. These are all entities that we've already been affiliated with, and they're already, you know, our friends. We just want to better organize with them. So we're moving forward with thinking through what this might look like in the US. So it doesn't look like there might be some fancy GlamWiki US, you know, nonprofit anytime soon. But what we're thinking is that there will be some broader group. And that's what you can do right now is sign up on the GlamUS Consortium page. There's no commitment to do anything. It's just letting me know that you as an individual or you, your institution, is interested in just remaining connected to open content in general. And we're trying to gather up these people and just build that network. And that is it for me. You can find us on us.glamwiki.org and keep your eye on the blog. Thanks.
Well, thanks to all three of you. I really appreciated hearing the presentations in that order. And of course, I didn't. One of the things that I thought was interesting is that in what Gaurav was doing was finding a way to pull data out of there and out of a wiki-based project. And it seems to me we're not far from a time when our content management systems in museums begin to look to Wikipedia to pull knowledge in, and so that we can begin to start thinking about a common data source for knowledge. And I'm sure that there's maybe some of this is going on now, but so seeing this kind of concrete examples is really good, and it speaks to the importance of having a neutral tone and a tone that includes broad perspectives from a great diversity of audiences. And so I thank you all very much. At this point, though, I'd like to turn the questions over to you all. And previously in this room, the person doing this job was called Phil Donahue, but maybe in recognition of Sarah's, I'll be Ricky Lake.
Charming.
So if there's anyone that has a question, I'd be happy to come around. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself and say where you're from?
Yes, my name is Paige Danziger. I'm from Minneapolis. I am not affiliated with a museum currently. I have a question. I'm interested in, if I wanted to edit and write about a piece of art history, how am I able to use an image that, do I have to find it on Creative Commons? Or what kind of legal issues are there? I can't just grab another museum's image and start writing about it. Or can I?
You can steal from my museum. I'll let you.
What museum?
I work at the Walter. Depending on what you want to write about and what museum it is.
Sure.
Some museums have open policies about art. Thank you.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Walters Museum.
If she wanted to, she could use some of it. Wait, so...
Well, one of you explain what he just said about the Walters.
Yeah.
A lot of images to Wikipedia.
Dylan. Dylan Kinect from the Walters. Yeah, but that too. But from the Walters in Baltimore, everybody. Dylan, we went and did a Glam Wiki event about a year and a half ago in Baltimore, where myself and a couple other Wikipedians went and met with museum professionals and lectured for a day about all the cool things that we're working on. And the Walters hosted it, and Dylan went, "Okay, this is really awesome. We've got to partner together on some things, and let's do this. We have 20,000 images, all public domain, that are owned by the city of Baltimore, all historical, high-quality collections of images. We want to donate them to Wikimedia Commons, our free image repository." And, oh great, yeah, he's going to pull up the project. But, no, that is not a Walters. Wow, yeah, so I lost my train of thought. The Walters ended up contributing, working with Wikipedians. Dylan came down to Glam Wiki DC, which Lori talked about, and ended up doing a all-day hacking session with about 5 Wikipedians. And over the course of 2 weeks, they ended up uploading all 20,000 images from the Walters to Wikipedia for free use. And you can go do whatever you want with them, including the really ugly camel, which is my preferred choice. But that's a good example. So public domain images, we accept public domain, Creative Commons attribution, which just means we have to give you credit, and share alike. So Creative Commons share alike, which means if you use that image, you have to also release it under the same license. Non-commercial, so Creative Commons non-commercial, and Creative Commons non-derivative are useless. You're still retaining copyright in some capacity. We don't want it. I personally have my own opinion that it's a waste of time, and Creative Commons knows my opinion. And the Walters was generous enough to say, "You're right, we're claiming copyright on some of this stuff, even though it's all public domain. We're going to change that, and we're changing it on our website. We're uploading all the images to Commons, and now they're in thousands of Wikipedia articles, and they're being viewed over 3 million times in like a 3-month period. And they're being used by people."
You know, since I have the microphone, I'm going to ask the next question.
That didn't answer your question, Paige. I'm sorry.
I just want to. It gets to a bigger issue with the complexities of uploading images, which can be kind of complicated. But then it gets to be who owns the image, and then who can do what with it. And Sarah has gone to say, well, you can do whatever you want with it. And that's really true so long as you attribute it, so long as you put in there, this image was uploaded by so-and-so. And I have an example of that. I've uploaded images to Wikimedia Commons from my museum on projects that I've worked on in researching some African Songhay figures. And so I uploaded a reasonably high resolution image of an African Songhay figure to Wikimedia Commons. And then, just out of odd circumstances, I was looking on eBay if I could buy an African Songhay figure. I'd just come back from Africa, and I was like, oh, can I buy African art on eBay? Which is not a good idea. I wasn't actually going to buy African art on eBay. But I just wanted to see what was on eBay. And what I found was actually the image that I had uploaded for sale on eBay.
Oh.
That's 100% legal. The image that I had uploaded to Wikimedia as a donation from the IMA Museum to Wikimedia Commons was for sale on eBay.
The image itself, or they were using your image?
They were using, so what I did is I bought this image. I paid $27, and there's a firm in Scotland that then produced an 11 by 17 color image with an attribution at the bottom and mailed it to me. Yeah, no, I mean, no, it actually, that was the weird thing, is that I think, because when you edit in Wikipedia, you don't edit as the IMA Museum, you edit as yourself. Yeah. So the attribution was actually to me.
Did you give yourself a royalty?
I know, I hung it in my lab. And and I've been meaning to write about this and to sort of assess it. Is that success or is that failure? And I don't know. So that's the thing, is that if your curators come around and find images of your artworks, I mean, but then again, if we go to look at, and you were pointing out some questions to say, well, how many women work in museums? This is a question, I think, for the American Association of Museum Directors to start breaking down their yearly statistical survey.
Yeah. How much money are you making?
Well, I mean, there's that. They already do that, but it's to say, what's the gender?
Yeah.
What's the gender makeup of museums? I think they could just add that to a line item. But what they do have in that is how much money each museum earns in rights and reproductions.
Yeah.
And so I would guess it wouldn't affect your bottom line if you were outsourcing your print-on-demand service to a for-hire place in Scotland. Mm-hmm. But it altogether, I think, makes people uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
To have your artworks for sale on eBay, in a way. But let me turn the mic over. Yeah, she had her first.
Hi, my name is Lisa, and I work at the LBJ Library in Austin, which is part of the National Archives and Records Administration. And I had a question about digital objects versus editing versus content. Because I know it sounds like a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of what, Dominic, you've done at NARA is uploading digital images, right? And it seems to me that the real worth of Wikipedia, the stuff that we use it for all the time at least, is the narrative content, and that would be the kind of thing that I think I would be really interested in doing, using our records, but I haven't got the foggiest idea how to make that happen. And I'm just wondering if y'all could kind of...
Yeah, actually, I like to pontificate on this because when we started with GlamWiki, it was all about, sorry, I'm losing my voice, Ignite talk, right? See? Give me a break. Whew. So it started off as a lot of image donations, like give us your images. That was all that it was. And then when Liam started at the British Museum, it started to slowly turn more into the content side. But it was still really image heavy, and it's kind of the low-hanging fruit in a lot of ways how the institutions get started. But really where all of our hearts, I feel like at this point I can speak for all of us when I say our hearts are in the content. The images are great, but and they do add a lot of value. But in the end, it's improving the encyclopedia that's, what we really need to be doing. And so that's kind of where we're trying to move, and we're doing that through things like edit-a-thons. Sarah did a great job of kind of running through the different types of events that you can run, and she's really blazed the trail with a lot of these unique ways that are appropriate for different people. So yeah, it's getting in there. And another thing is, we don't expect curators and museum professionals to drop everything and edit articles. We would love that. I mean, in our perfect future is one in which it's, whoa. is one in which, as part of your everyday, you just can edit and you're thinking about it. But we don't expect you to do that right now. So edit-a-thons are a great way to get the curators and the museum professionals, the experts in the room with the Wikipedians working together, whether or not you're editing, they're around to help with the nuance of what you're writing. So we're kind of taking those baby steps.
And real quick, because with residencies and projects, there's water here on the table, so I like to write content. So as a Wikipedian in residence, I created a project for example, the Smithsonian Institution Archives or the Archives of American Art, a wiki project where Wikipedians come together who like to edit about specific subjects, so fine art, food, whatever. And mine was about the Archives of American Art. So do you want to write about artists from America who lived in America? We've got the content. We want to share it with you, teach you how to use it, teach you how to work with archivists who are fabulous people to do that with because they write kick-ass finding aids, which are neutral. Yes, and with the Smithsonian, we can copy and paste them, as we learned, which was really awesome, and because of public domain. And they'd argue that, but anyway, it was really great because we ended up writing hundreds of articles and improving hundreds of articles and subjects and content in 240 billion different languages. So, it depends on the person you're working with, the people you're working with. We want people to release content public domain. We want you to if you release your text. Say on your website, you release 2 pages about George O'Keeffe, for example. He's from the George O'Keeffe Museum. Let's say you write a great biography about George O'Keeffe, all cited, great quality content, put it on a blog, whatever you want to do. We can copy and paste it, attribute you, and we are done with some new content about George O'Keeffe's life in New Mexico, or whatever. There's a lot of really interesting things that still haven't been experimented on. And, you can come talk to us or connect with some of us, and especially when it comes to fine art, that's my area. And, Dominic, of course, can also talk a little later afterwards about if he wanted to create more content.
He's pulling up Sydney Artist Camp.
We just have about 5 minutes left, so maybe we get through.
And I'm okay with time if people want to talk afterwards a bit too.
Just a quick question. I'm sorry. I'm at the Brooklyn Academy of Music,
Cool.
and thanks for the great talk. I'm an archivist by training, and I have a museum background too. Brooklyn Museum and Wikimedia and Wikipedia in general does great work. But were librarians and archivists, were their reasons the same as general women for not editing content? Because we seem like a kind of group that would actually care about this sort of stuff. So I'm wondering why it doesn't become like part of library school curriculum.
Yeah, I didn't do a survey that was specifically. Surveys haven't been done specific. I'm running low. I need a cup of coffee. I need an espresso. Specific jobs. I guess I'm going to say poorly said, but we haven't done a survey of women in cultural organizations and why they do not edit Wikipedia. This is a general conversation I've had the honor of having around the world of women who work in archives, who are moms, who are doctors, who are just students, whatever. I would love to see it become something that every student learns how to do. Students are learning how to do it through our global education program, but they're not being taught to become continuous contributing editors after their class is done. Because who really cares? You edit one Wikipedia article about, Louise Nevelson, and you're done. You got an A+ in class. You don't have to edit Wikipedia again. So there's a couple, issues. How do we retain editors? And doing that through museum studies programs, MLS programs, et cetera, would be so fabulous to see happen. But unfortunately, they're not hiring for Wikipedia professors yet. I'd love to see it happen, though, because a lot of women seem to care in this industry. And,
Dale?
I know she had a question, too.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Thank you. I'm Concha from the National Museum of Art in Barcelona. I wanted just to mention a couple of projects we developed with Wikipedia recently. One is on the academic side. We run a postgraduate course on museum management. And as a compulsory exercise during the course, all students have to write an article on Wikipedia, museum-related or heritage-related. And we offer them a workshop where they can learn to edit or how to start an article from scratch. And also, for example, we run this on a summer seminar we hosted for the Johns Hopkins University in Barcelona this summer. And for 2 weeks we had students from Johns Hopkins, and they had to also to write an article on Wikipedia, and this was a great experience for them, a discovery, really. And some of them were actually working for a museum, and they said that when they came back to the United States, they would start editing for Wikipedia for the museum. That was one experience on the academic side, which I think was very, very positive. And the other one, we ran a backstage pass for local Wikipedians in our museum. We got 1,000 of local Wikipedians there. During the whole day, they had some meetings with curators, and they discussed together, and it was an approach of those two different worlds. And we didn't invite them to wine, but we invited them for lunch.
That's good.
And they work in the library, and it was a very interesting day. And it's just so easy for museums to offer a backstage pass for Wikipedians that I would recommend everybody to do that.
Thank you. And I have to say also that Concha is one of my examples of a GLAM professional advocate. I mean, she has been incredible and has single-handedly brought Wikipedia into the cultural sector in Barcelona and Catalonia. So thank you.
Can we end it with your question, Dale, and then if folks want to stay around and have a conversation, that'd be great.
It's okay with me. Well, I guess maybe I'm not a good one to end this because it's a pretty broad question, but I mean, Sarah, I looked at your list of reasons why, the reasons women give you for not wanting to edit and compose and author. And those are all the same reasons I don't want to do it.
It's funny how it
honestly,
is like that, isn't it?
Right? So, I don't buy that is the sort of gender-specific thing. So there's some reason that despite all those things, more men are willing to sit down and kind of struggle through the obstacles of this, really tedious process. Like the reward for men going through the tedious process must be more rewarding than the rewards of that current workflow are for women. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man. I could talk about this all day. That's what I've been doing for a year now. Absolutely. Research, and there's a million papers that have been written about gender, the gender gap in Wikipedia after the New York Times article came out about 2 years ago announcing our terrible gender gap. And research has shown that, again, this is generalizing. We all don't have to fall into these categories. If I lived in a perfect world, we wouldn't have a gender gap at all. Of course, we wouldn't have to talk about why women and men don't edit and what their different reasonings are. Because I'm one who falls for it. I like to edit Wikipedia, and I get excited about it. But does that make me a man? No. Anyway. So that was awkward. God, weird. That was a weird statement. I digress. So. No, the gamification has definitely been a different experience for men in regards to what they get out of Wikipedia. Research has shown that men are more prone to conflict. They like to get into it on Wikipedia. Women are more conflict adverse. I hate fighting and arguing. I really do. In my love life, in my everyday life, especially on the internets, where people really like to fight. Women like to do it less. And if you go into the argumentative forms, such as the abortion article, there are women who are participating. Most of them end up leaving the conversation because they just go, I can't deal with this. I've met women who edited Wikipedia since its inception, 11 years ago, and end up leaving 2 years ago because they just can't take it anymore. That's a small percentage. Don't think you're all going to go in there and get attacked. It's not like that necessarily. But if you're going to edit really contentious subjects, don't be surprised if something might happen or something might come up. It also depends on if you're in a power position. There are very few women who lead power positions in Wikipedia as administrators. We have administrators that go around and delete articles and content, clean up messes that the everyday user can't edit, and the majority of them are men.
Sarah's one of our few.
Okay.
I just became one, actually.
But I mean,
yeah.
Can I just
Please.
reflect back? What I'm hearing you say is that there is a certain degree, a certain lack of civility and courtesy.
It's the internet. No, it's true. It's true.
I'm serious.
Yeah,
a certain
it's
lack
true.
of civility and courtesy that is gender-induced right now in Wikipedia, and that seems to be so to me that seems like a real problem.
Yeah.
That the organization has to.
They're not going to.
Has to just put the brakes on.
Yeah.
And correct.
And
immediately because that's.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's something I deal with every single day. People say, well, you've got to make some big laws. The Wikimedia Foundation, who's not going to do it, because Wikipedia is entirely ran on community consensus. So I want to nominate this article for deletion. Well, we have to have a list of people who go through and say, delete, keep, and then one person goes and says, who has the best argument, keep or delete. Or, it's consensus. Not voting. And it's hard. We have a civility policy. So if you call someone by some really nasty words, nasty names, you might be able to get blocked from Wikipedia. But it's the internet, and Wikipedians say you're going to get called a bitch. That's just how the internet works sometimes when you're in a power position on Wikipedia as a woman or a man. Or you're going to get called stupid if you make a dumb edit. But it's changing. I created a project actually called the Tea House, which I link on my PowerPoint, that last slide. The Tea House is if you go to Wikipedia and you type in WP:*Tea House, you'll see something unlike any other page on Wikipedia. And it's a help space for new editors to go. You can make a profile of yourself, so a picture of yourself, and say, I work in an archive, or I love art and museums, and I'm a member of MCN, and put your picture there. And so community aspect, kind of Facebooky. And then you can also ask a question in a really simple, easy way. How the heck do I copy edit? Or how do I write my first article? Where do I do that? And a really friendly editor who's experienced, like me, will come over and go, hi there, Dale. Welcome to Wikipedia. I'm really glad you're here. Here's how you do that. And I tell you in a step-by-step way. 28% of our participants are women in a 6-month trial we did. 28% in the Tea House. And the majority of our editors are being retained. 60-something%, which is unheard of in Wikipedia. We have an editor decline right now. It's unheard of. And every day since this project it's now a permanent part of the community there. It's on Wikipedia. You can go to it anytime. People are saying the community is changing. We currently have a discussion going on to rewrite our civility clause. So if you want to have your voice heard about how people need to treat each other on Wikipedia and not be assholes, then I encourage you, I will send the link, I'll put it out on Twitter, and if you have a Wikipedia account or you want to just see what people are talking about, please join in. Because they're doing a survey right now that you can fill out where they'll say, how would you feel if someone called you this name? What would you want them to be banned from Wikipedia or just yelled at by someone? You can tell them what you think. You can say, if someone called me a bitch on Wikipedia because I deleted their article, I'd be mad as hell. But I have a temper, and I take it personal on the internet and in real life. So I posted that, and they're going to read all the 100 people, and they're mainly people who want to change. So it's changing. It just takes more good people taking over Wikipedia from the trolls. And I'm looking at all of you. I'm like making eye contact with everyone in this room right now. It's very complex. That's why people write books about this stuff.
But it seems like,
and the men are more trolly than the women.
I'm a cyclist, and one of
Seriously.
One of the horrible things that happened to cyclists was blood doping and steroid taking.
Absolutely.
Testosterone, right? And basically what the sport had to do was say, we have decided as a group that is not cycling.
Yeah.
That's testosterone taking and steroid taking and blood doping. And we're cycling. So the sport isn't going to behave in that way.
Yeah.
And it just seems like Wikipedia has to decide that's not building community organization. That's just being confrontational.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. That's not part of what we do.
Well, it's happening. It is happening. It's a slow process because it's consensus, but it's happening. And that's one thing we did with the Wiki Women's Collaborative. We just said, well, screw it. If you're going to be jerks on Wikipedia, we're going to start our own group. We're going to start our own cabal of women. And our friends, our guy friends, our advocates or our allies, and say, if you're getting annoyed on Wikipedia, come to Facebook and talk to it. Talk to us about it. If you're getting mad about some jerk on Wikipedia, we'll deal with it. And it's working. Women are coming together and going, the article I wrote got deleted. She's a woman art scientist, and the subjects, the articles are or the citations are a little obscure, but she is important. This woman saved the orange fields of California. I had the article deleted. The article was nominated for deletion an hour after Sarah Schneider wrote it at an editathon. And we got the troops together, and the article was saved and expanded. So you just had to create your own community in order to change community. And that's something I'd like to see happen.
I think that's a really positive way to end. Thank you three very much. It was great.